Hey everyone, I hope your Easter vacation was pretty good. We're going to start up again, and we're not going to learn anything new. We're just going to learn how to do systems of equations with word problems. I'm not going to teach you a new method. You can either use graphing, substitution, elimination. It doesn't really matter to me as long as you're comfortable using it. Uh, if I'm going to be mainly using substitution and elimination to answer these, just because I don't recommend using graphing, and I've talked about it before because fractions can make things a little ugly for graphing. So if you want to do graphing, go for it. See if your answer matches up with mine. If you need some more help with that, you can look at the video or you can ask me during virtual office hours. So first, steps for solving systems of equations in word problems. Now, I'm not going to lie, this is going to be pretty difficult the first few times you do it, but probably by the 10th time you do this, the 10th problem you do, you'll probably start to get the pattern that every question is kind of the same. They just change around the numbers. So this is what I mean by that. Your first step to solving a system of equation word problem is to first identify what they're asking for. So, a stone fell from the top of a cliff into the ocean. In the air, it had an average speed of 16 meters per second, and in the water, it had an average speed of 3 meters per second. Therefore, before hitting the seabed, the total distance from the top of the cliff to the seabed is 127 meters, and the stone's entire fall took 12 seconds. How long did the stone fall in the air, and how long did it fall in the water? The stone fell in the air for blank seconds and fell in the water for blank seconds. So right off the bat, we can look at the question and we know that they're asking for how long it fell in the air and how long it fell in the water. Now, how long? That means time, right? So that means that our two variables, our two things that they're asking for is, let me change this, is air time and water time. Air time I'm going to put as x, water time I'm going to put as y. This is just because I'm going to be using this. I'm going to be using this a lot, and I don't want to be writing air time and water time every time. I'm just going to give them a variable x and y, and we should just know that that's what it means, because I assigned it to them for this particular problem. All right, so that's my step one. My step two is to then try and create an equation. Try to create an equation, two equations actually, based off of what's given, okay? You're gonna be using your givens to find your equation, yeah? And then you're gonna try to fit your variables to it. So I know that what I like to do is I like to draw my problems. And the main reason for drawing my problems is just because it gives me something to refer to that's not just these words. And it makes it easier for me. If you don't like it, that's fine. It's to each their own. But I am going to do it for myself. So the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to make a cliff. And then I'm also going to make the water. And I'm going to make the seabed. Okay? Now, I know that I have a stone that is falling at an average speed of 16 meters per second in the air. So that means from here to here, it's going 16 meters per second. I also know that in the water, from here to here, it's going at 3 meters per second. Okay? And I know that overall, this total thing here, it's a total distance of 127 meters. And it takes a total of 12 seconds for the entire fall. Okay? My writing has not gotten better. Okay, good enough. So let's see what we got here. Let's make an equation for distance, because right now they gave us, remember, we're basing it off of our given. It's based off our given. We're given 127 meters. We're also given 12 seconds. So we're going to kind of work off of this. Yeah? So right now, we know that for seconds, right? So however many seconds we have the total of, let's see, I'm going to use black. So I know that the total time is 12 seconds. Now, how do I get to 12 seconds? Well, the amount of time it takes in the air plus the amount of time it takes in the water should equal 12 seconds, right? Like, let's say it's 9 and 3. Sure. As long as it is exactly 12 seconds, it can be any combination of seconds. Yeah? Now, what that means that for 12 seconds, it's the time that it needs in the air. My stylus is not working very well today. The air time plus the water time. Now, what did we just say was our airtime and water time variable? X and Y. So we know that 12 is equal to our X, our airtime, plus our Y, water time. And that's just based off this, which makes sense. The total airtime, the amount of time total movement time is just air plus water, because that's all the movement. Once it hits the floor, it stops moving. So we did time. Now let's do distance. We know that we have 127 meters total in our distance. Well, the 127 meters total should just be from here to here and here to here. Right? Well, what do we have for distance? We have speed. That has distance in it, right? So you know, from here to here, if we have 16 meters per second, right? So that means for every second, every air time, every x, we get 16 meters. So that means for every x that I have in the air, I'm getting 16 of my meters. That's just based off this, right? Like if I go for 1 second, I had 60 meters. If I went for 2 seconds, 32 meters. If I went for 3 seconds, 48 meters, so on and so on and so on. If I want to find my total distance in the air, I just need to multiply this by my seconds. And if you have any questions about that, we can go over it on the virtual office hours, okay? Now let's do it again for water. Water time is my Y. I know that I have an average speed of 3 meters per second. So that means that for every y second that I spent, I'm going to get 3 meters, 3 of my distance meters. Yeah? And look, now we have another equation. So that means my second equation is 127 is equal to 16x plus 3y. Now let's do math with this. Now it's something that we can work with, right? Let's rewrite this over here. So here we have 127. Let me see. Let me do it both ways. So let me use this. So I know that I have 12 equals x plus y. Now, I'm going to do it the substitution way first. All right. And then I'm going to do it the elimination way. So this will be my substitution. All right. Now, if you remember from your steps about what substitution should be first is isolate or find an isolated variable. I wrote this down because both of these look pretty darn easy to isolate. It doesn't matter which one you choose. They're both equally easy. I'm going to isolate my y, because why not? So if I want to isolate my y, I got to move my x away from my y. So I'm going to minus x, I'm going to minus x, and I end up with 12 minus x is equal to y. pretty straightforward. Now that I have my isolated y, so this is my step 1. Now that I have my isolated y, I am going to plug that into the other equation. So originally I had, no, let's not do that. Let's use that one. Why not? So I have 127 is equal to 16x plus 3y. So now, wherever I had my y, it's actually going to be 12 minus x now. So 127 is equal to 16x plus 3 times 12 minus x. Remember that you are multiplying everything that y was. So everything that used to be y is now going to be 12 minus x. I did 3 times this, therefore I did 3 times this. If you don't put it in parentheses, you're going to get messed up. You should always substitute into parentheses. So I'm going to do that. 127 is equal to 16x plus 3 times 12 is 36. And 3 times x is negative 3x because of the minus. And then you just kind of solve for x. So this is my step 2. I'll use this for my next one. Why not? Okay. So I'm going to put these together. So that's 127 is equal to 16x minus 3x is 13x plus 36 minus 36 from both sides. So 127 minus 36 is 91, right? That cancels, so we're end up with 13x. Divide both sides by 13. So x is going to equal 7. And if you needed time to work it out, just remember you can pause these at any time. And are we done? No, we're not done, because we only have our x. Right now, our ordered pair is only halfway filled. So in order to solve for our y, so this is step 3. In order to solve for our y, we just plug it back in, right? So to plug it back in, we do, I don't know, let's do it with purple, why not? Let's do 12 equals x plus y. So we have 12 equals x plus y. I know that my x is 7, so 12 is equal to 7 plus y minus 7 from both sides, and I get 5 is equal to y. 7, 5. Now let's do it the elimination way. If you don't like the elimination way, you can skip forward. Don't worry about it. Elimination. I really hope I'm spelling this right. My brain is still in vacation mode, so if I spell things wrong, this is not an English class. So don't worry about it. So I am going to rewrite my equation. Actually, I'm not going to rewrite it. I'm just going to copy paste because I am lazy. Yeah. So we got this, right? Now remember, our variables need to be lined up. Everything needs to be lined up. So constants, variable. We also need our coefficients to be the same. We don't have that. I'm going to turn my y, in this 1y, into a 3y because it's easier. You're going to notice the trend with me saying that it's just easier because I will always choose the easiest one, because well, why would you choose the harder one? So I'm going to multiply every single thing by 3. Remember, now I was looking at some of your homeworks, and some of you are forgetting to multiply everything when you're multiplying. Okay? You have to multiply the 12, the x, and the y. Don't forget that. So I'm going to multiply 12 times 3 is 36 equals 3x plus 3y. And then the bottom I didn't really touch. And then I need to decide whether or not I need to add or subtract. In this case, I believe if we have a positive 3 and a positive 3, we're going to subtract. So 36 minus 127, I believe it's negative 91, is equal to 3 minus 16 is negative 13x, and that comes out to 0y. We don't need to rewrite that, so I'm just going to then divide both sides by 13. Negative 13, remember there's a negative sign. Negative times negative is positive, and 91 divided by 13 is 7. So there we go. And I already know that it works because if I plug 7 in here, it works to 5, so I know it's going to be 5 here. Yeah? So the answer is 7, 5. And there's the first one. Here's our second problem. Our second problem here tells us that we have Dr. Potter provides vaccinations against polio and measles. Each polio vaccination consists of 4 doses, and each measles vaccination consists of 2 doses. Last year, Dr. Potter gave a total of 60 vaccinations that consisted of a total of 184 doses. Cool. So for those of you who need a reminder on what our steps are, there they are. So identify what they are asking for. We have to find the polio vaccinations and the measles vaccinations. All right, cool. So those are our 2 things right now. I'm just going to put PV for polio vaccinations. And I'm going to put MV for measles vaccinations. And again, I'm going to make this X and I'm going to make this Y for no other reason than why not. Yeah? I'm giving them variables to make it easier to work with. Okay, the less I have to write, the less likely I'm going to confuse everything. All right, so let's do this. So that's our first task, identify what they're asking for. They're asking for polio vaccinations and measles vaccinations. That's our X and our Y. Now try to create 2 equations based off of what's given. All right, so we had polio vaccinations consists of 4 doses, and measles vaccinations consists of 2 doses. Cool. Last year, Dr. Potter gave a total of 60 vaccinations that consisted of 184 doses. All right, so let's try and figure out how this happens. So we have doses here and we have vaccinations here. So we're going to try to find both. So our given, we know that we have 60 total vaccinations. Yep. So that means the number of polio vaccinations, right, plus the number of measles vaccinations should give me the total number of vaccinations. Now I don't want to write this every time, so 60 is equal to X plus Y. Simple enough, right? Now let's do doses. I know that there are 184 total doses. Now remember, I'm starting with my totals. I'm starting with what they gave me, and then I have to figure out how I'm going to get that. Yeah, using what I have. So I know that I have polio doses, and I know that I have measles doses. However, for my vaccinations, is it always a 1-to-1 for polio? No. Every vaccination has 4 doses. That means for every polio, for every 1 polio, for every X, I have a total of 4 doses. And for every measles vaccination, I have a total of 2 doses. And if I put them together, I should have a total of 184 doses. Now, I'm going to, oh no, okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move this here because why not? And then let's see what we got. I'll use blue. I'm going to use elimination method for this one. If you would like me to use substitution, I can do that again in virtual. I just think that elimination is a little bit faster for this. So we got 184 equals 4x plus 2y. Now, it does not matter which one I put on top. I'm putting this on top because I just want the bigger number on top. So if you see here, our constants are lined up, our x's are lined up, our y's are lined up. Pretty nice. But what we don't have is we don't have the matching coefficients. Okay, so we're going to match our coefficients. We're going to multiply. I'm going to just multiply everything by 2. So I'm going to multiply everything by 2. So what we end up with is 120, because 60 times 2 is 20, is equal to 2 times x plus 2 times y. And then we end up with 184, because we didn't touch the top equation. That just kind of copies down. Okay. Now, next step, now that we have our matching coefficients and everything's lined up, we have to pick addition or subtraction. Because we have positive 2 and positive 2, if we want to get 0, just make them subtract. Positive 2 minus positive 2 is 0. So we end up with 184 minus 120 is 64. 4 minus 2 is 2x. 2 minus 2 is 0. Yeah? So then we don't need to rewrite the 0. 64 is equal to 2x. X is equal to 32. Are we done? If you said no, good job. If you said yes, the answer is no. Yeah. So we got 32 here. And so now we just plug it in. I'm going to plug it into the 60 equals x plus y because that seems pretty easy to me. So let me not jump the gun here. 60 is equal to x plus y. I know that my x is 32. So 60 is equal to 32 plus y minus 32 from both sides. 28 is equal to y. There we go. And that's how you do it. So if I put it in, this would be really embarrassing if it doesn't work. Make sure that it's lined up. So I put measles for my y, right? So that's 28. I put polio as my x, so that's 32. Yeah, so this should... Hey, there we go. Now we're going to deal with carpenters. So Giselle works as a carpenter and as a blacksmith. She earns $20 per hour as a carpenter and $25 per hour as a blacksmith. Wow, she has a lot of skills. Last week, Giselle worked both jobs for a total of 30 hours and earned $690. Giselle worked as a carpenter for blank hours and blacksmith for blank hours. So what are we looking for? What we're looking for is carpenter hours and blacksmith hours. So let's do that. So for carpenter hours, for carpenter, I'm just going to put C. Oh no, carp. Why not? I'm going to put it as X. And then for blacksmith, so blacksmith, why not? Blacksmith. I'm going to make that a Y. Yeah? So let's create, next we're going to create our equations based on what we're given. We have a total of 30 hours and a total of $690. If you're starting to see a trend here, it's because there is. You're literally doing the same thing every time. So we have a total of 30 hours. How do we get hours? Well, we know we have carpenter hours and blacksmith hours, right? So you just take them together. However long she was a carpenter plus however long she was a blacksmith. And if it feels like I'm going faster than usual, it's because I am. With each question, I'm going to take less time, because if you need help with the steps more in depth, you can just go back to the previous ones. So next, I'm going to go over my total earned, my money. So I know that she made a total of $690, and I know that for every hour that she's a carpenter, she gets 20. So for every 1 carpenter hour, she gets $20. And for every blacksmith hour, she gets $25. And I'm going to add them together. Yeah? So, let's see. Yeah. Next, we're just going to... I'll do substitution this time. So let's use this one. So 30 equals x plus y. I'm going to isolate one of my variables. I chose this equation because it looked like it had really easy variables to isolate. I'll isolate my x this time. So now minus y. So I get 30 minus y is equal to x. And now I plug it into my bottom equation. So I have 690 is equal to 20 multiplied by 30 minus y plus, oh, I'm going to need to move a little bit, 25y. Then you just simplify it out. So 690 is equal to 20 times 30 is 600. 20 times negative y is negative 20y. And plus 25y. I'm going to combine these. So I end up with 690 is equal to 600. Negative 20y plus 25y should give me 5y. And then I'm going to minus 600 from both sides because I'm solving for y now. 90, 0. So I end up with 90 is equal to 5y. Then I'm going to divide both sides by 5. And I end up with y is equal to, I believe that's 18. So that means that I have 18 for my y. And now I'm going to plug it in to find my x. Let's do it on this side. Oh, it's the lowest. Okay. Let's see. Okay. So I'm going to plug in 18 for y. So 30 is equal to x plus 18 minus 18 from both sides. Oops. And I get x is equal to 12. So let's see. Carpentry hours is my x, so x is 12. Blacksmith hours is 18, that's my y. And good job. And that's it for today. If you need any more questions, if you have any more questions, feel free to bring them up at virtual hours.